Sometimes editing can be overwhelming and just plain time consuming. So today I'm going to walk you through my workflow that helps me pump up my weekly videos and my client work. Let's go.
Break.
Yes, welcome back. My name is Ryan and I'm a videographer and photographer based in Toronto, Canada. Welcome to my channel where I share tips and tutorials and vlogs so that you can level up and so that we can learn from each other and make better content. So, a couple weeks ago, I shared a video about how to speed up your editing workflow without buying a new computer. Of course, everybody wants an M1 Mac, but there are ways to do it without. And the resounding feedback from the video was sharing the workflow. So today we're going to jump in and I'm going to share with you my personal workflow that I've picked up from years of editing and also just learn from other editors in the game. And that has helped me to kind of pump out videos quickly and often and get things on the roll. Disclaimer, this is my personal process that I've picked up along the way. There is no wrong or right way to edit. However, there are some principles that just have stood the test of time to help you edit better. And so I've combined those principles with my personal preferences. And so, in the same way, as you learn stuff from this video, take what makes sense, apply it, and also, maybe try it out and adjust it so that you can find something that works for you and keeps you sane. Also, I'm doing this in Final Cut, but it's not specific to Final Cut. You can apply this to any editor that you use. The concepts will be the same. All right, let's jump in. So I'm going to use my most recent vlog that I posted as an example of this edit. So if you want to watch that vlog for context, I'm going to link it up right now and you can check it out. If not, no problem. You can probably follow along without the context too, but it is there for you. So there are 8 parts to this process. And the first step is copying all of your footage and your project files to your hard drive that you're using to edit. Remember we talked about using the fastest hard drive and connection possible for editing? Yes, this is where you're going to copy everything here or as much as you can. So I have here my project files. So these are videos. Eventually later on in the editing process, I got audio tracks. I was doing different music tracks and different parts. So you just want to copy everything. You don't want to be editing from a hard drive and then this random SD card stuck in the back of your computer and then like a USB stick and then something. Like, try to keep everything on one drive as much as possible. It's not always possible, but again, try your best. All right. Step 2, import everything. So I've already used the magic of video editing to get everything into Final Cut already. And when you import, again, try to get everything in, photos, videos, that kind of stuff. So this is our project here. The original name was Difficult Lessons on the Job, but eventually as I edited and as I built the video, I changed the name. So step 3 is organize your footage. A lot of new editors skip this process because they're like, hey, I just want to jump in. They're excited or they don't know where to start and they just think editing, so I'm just going to edit. But a huge part of being organized and not getting into like editor's blocks is to sit down and just make sense of everything that you have. And before I even drop stuff on a timeline, yeah, you see a timeline here, but I go in and I edit. And so for this vlog, I made keyword selections. So some of these were from the previous project where I edited the wedding, but they still were relevant. So I have BTS clips here. They're all here, and I have like couple shots, clips from the film. So I did take the final film from this project, and I took little segments from that and put it into the timeline. Establishing shots. I took stuff from Instagram too, so I went to my archive because on that day we did have some stories that helped push the narrative of the vlog forward. There was some letter reading BTS I wanted to include, and then of course my music. And so the bigger your project, the more you have to be organized. For example, for weddings. Let me show you an example from a wedding real quick. So I did this wedding last fall, and it was, weddings usually are what I consider big projects. So I need to take time to organize them. So here I have my multicam clip where I synchronize all the sound together. But also when I go here, all footage, now I have everything broken down. So now I have bride prep, shots all broken down, and I've chosen my favorite clips. I have behind the scenes footage because sometimes you gotta get some of those. We got a couple shots, but different kinds of couple shots, so I can just kind of narrow them down. Couple shots again. Another set of couple shots that were in a different area, and we have ceremony. So all the stuff from the ceremony going on here, details, my dress, getting dressed, that kind of stuff, drone shots, establishing shots and details around the wedding day, groom prep, reactions from the guests, the reveal, the bride did a reveal to the bridesmaids and stuff. Storyteller, so those are the people who are going to be, those are the places where I'm grabbing speeches to help tell the story of the wedding. And then, of course, any wedding party shots I had. And so this was, we shot for, actually it wasn't very long. It was a short wedding because it was, Corona, right? So it was a pretty short wedding. We shot for maybe 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours, and it ended up being a 4-minute video. But it was so important for me to like organize this footage, especially if I, as a editor, I'm responsible for trying to represent as many people at that event and as many important moments. So it's so good to be involved. It's so good to be organized. So yeah, take that time to just organize your footage and make sure it is good to go. Okay. All right, so the next step you want to do is to now lay stuff down on the timeline, right? So you've organized your footage and now it's time to put stuff down. These first 4 steps are going to be your foundation, right? You have to import, you have to organize, and now you have to lay your timeline down. And so when I lay my timeline down, it's just simple. I'm just putting things in the order that I think I need to see them, right? I'm thinking about the story. For this one, I had a little hook at the beginning before my intro, which is here. You guys know this intro from the vlog. And then I have little black spaces. And so instead of taking time to put the text in, I just make a marker. And then I put August 2019. And so that's what my text is going to be. Because I don't want to get stuck in, drop in text and then losing my flow. Because it's really hard to make a timeline. And make a story that makes sense. So I spend a lot of time just focusing on that. So here I say I need a voiceover because I just didn't have enough stuff in the vlog itself to explain what was going on. So here I said I'm going to need a voiceover. I continue laying down footage, blah 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 blah. I put another bar here. It's just things to remind me. These things in purple here are actual clips from the completed film. So those I kind of interspersed with the BTS here. There you go. And I keep going. Sometimes I build in black spots because I know that like at certain points it's just gonna go black. There you go. And then I know something's gonna go here. So I don't always have to put a marker because I know that I'm gonna put something in this black spot. Again, Instagram clip here, more markers, and again, I'm trying to like minimize how much time I go off making text and all that stuff. You're gonna focus on building your timeline. Don't worry about color correction. Don't worry about audio. Maybe raise the audio a bit if the audio is too low to hear, but focus on building the timeline because that takes a lot of concentration. Okay, and so at this point, when you're done your timeline, you want to just kind of walk away from it because you've been staring at this timeline for so long, probably a few hours depending on the project. If it's a smaller project, not as long. and you want to come back at it and look at it with fresh eyes. Fresh eyes means like you walk away, like maybe you time it so at the end of the day you're walking away, and then the next day you come in, or you take a break, you have lunch, whatever you want to come back. But it's so important to look at it with fresh eyes, because now you're going to come back at it and look at it, and you're going to realize, some of this stuff doesn't need to be in here. And so general concept I want to take is every clip needs to be intentional. Like, why is it there? Why did I include this there? Is this helping to set the mood? Is it telling a story? Is it showing something? If you can't answer that, or it's redundant, you should probably take it out. Less is more. So now that I've done that, I've walked away, I've come back, I've actually trimmed the timeline a little bit. My original timeline was 14 and a half minutes, and I trimmed it down to now 12 and a quarter. So yeah, like cutting off 2+ minutes is a lot. And I actually wanted this vlog to be a lot shorter. Like, I try to aim for 10 minutes, but there was just stuff in here that I just wanted to say, and at the end I was like, okay, you know what, we need context to help people understand. And so in my final timeline, I got it down. I took out some of the clips from the BTS. I added the voiceover, because the voiceover is going to help me determine how long a segment needs to be, because I need to have B-roll with it. I think I added another voiceover at the end. Yeah, there you go, because we were so tired. We didn't even do the closing for the vlog. And then some of the stuff at the end I took off and just ended it right here. So there you go. So now my timeline's done. And at this point, you want to do something called a watch through, if you've done it already when you watched a longer timeline. But I just want to make sure that this is kind of like, I'm kind of happy with the flow of the project, right? Is it flowing well? Is it dragging on before I do the next step? All right, and that's it. So now we're gonna move on to graphics. Now that I've established my timeline, and I'm pretty sure it's fairly solid, it's not gonna go anywhere, I'm gonna add my graphics. So like text, overlays, like any images that I'm adding, anything, because now when you start adding graphics, like that's when you start to get rendering. So I'm going to jump back into the timeline here. So now I've added text in different areas, right, to help, because there's some parts where the audio wasn't clear. I've also added the, establishing text, la 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 la. Again, more text. Those are the graphics. I had an arrow here. I usually have those arrows on screen, and then I have any like special graphics like my YouTube stuff. So if people are getting value from the video, they can like, maybe subscribe. If I was doing one of my tutorials, as you've seen, I add a lot of pictures, I add a lot of text, anything that's going to be on screen. It's going to be hiding your A roll, which is your main timeline, and that's when you want to add that stuff, because you want to avoid rendering. The next step you want to do is adding your audio, and tweaking your audio. So this is like fixing your audio for the people who are speaking, like on your main timeline, but also adding sound effects if you need anything. So sound effects that accompany any elements that come on screen. You want to add music. This is a time where you add music. If you haven't chosen music yet, this is a good time, because now you have the timeline, you kind of have a feel of it. It's a great time to choose music. Sometimes you might choose a track before, because you're like, you've heard it somewhere else, and you're like, I'm using this track, and so that's when you want to add that in. Sometimes you may have chosen that track and you realize, yeah, this track doesn't work anymore for this project. So that's when you're going to go in and do all of that. Okay, so here you see I have put in now a few more elements. The music elements are at the bottom. So all your visuals are on top, and audio is at the bottom. And so I've added, I'm going to kill this for a second. And so I've added the writing sound that you hear. There you go. And so I put that in. I've also added my little hard transition sound that I like to use. So this thing makes that little punching sound.
So excited to share this life with you.
Right? And then also music. So now, which is another wedding ride along. Here we go. And so I've used keyframes to bring the volume down when I'm talking. So right here during the voiceover, again, I've tweaked that. I've used a fader at the end so that the music goes off gently. It's not like just, abruptly stopping. And then I tweak even the stuff that's being used on the main timeline. So I go into my audio settings and I add stuff like EQ, compressor, that kind of stuff. So before, actually, you can take it off and you can hear it.
I do.
You want some viewers at home?
Eating some, what is this? Wasabi snappies. Oh,
And now I'm going to put the effects back on. You can hear what they sound like.
You want some viewers at home?
Eating some, what is this? Wasabi snappies. Oh, I've never had these.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more full. Yeah, and quick tip, you want to get some kind of monitoring headphones to help you hear the difference if you're like serious about your audio. The reason I do music after all that graphic and timeline stuff is because usually, like for me, the way I edit, I like to put the music in to work with the story. Sometimes people will put a track in and they'll edit to the music. I personally don't edit to music very often. Like, yeah, I'll squeeze it in the track and I want the music to hit at certain points. But I'll move the music track around to fit my storyline. Anyway, so that's audio. There's not really much to share there. Just make sure your voices sound good, your music comes in at the right points, and you tweak the volume so that things don't get interrupted. And any special effects or audio effects that you want to add in. And there you go. Listen, I'm going through very quickly, just kind of overviewing every section. But if you have a specific question about an area or you want to deep dive in a specific phase in this, just let me know. And I'd love to, probably work that into the workflow for future videos. All right. Color correction is very important. And so color correction is different from grading. So color correction is where we're just fixing the clips to make them look good, like make them look like they're supposed to do. And supposed to, again, is very subjective, but there are tools that you can use in your editor to help you see, oh, this clip is supposed to look like this. And so you're going to use that and before you add any fancy grading to it. All right, so here I've done my color correction and I'll just go over to my color tab and I'll show you kind of before and after. So so it was a little bit dark, and how I know that is that I bring up my scopes. I like to use a waveform to get that in, to just kind of know. So basically you want to line up your highlights up here and your shadows should be down here. And so when I put that on, so this is going over because some parts are overexposed, but the parts that are important should be kind of within these two lines here, right? Here, again, that part's overexposed, but I should have put a filter on here, but it's a vlog. I'm not trying to go too crazy. Again, here, I'm just fixing the colors. I'm not adding any style or any fun element. I'm just making things look properly shot, because you don't always have that option on a wedding day, right? So there you go. Adding contrast too, a little bit of contrast, because originally it's kind of very flat, and also changing the color temperature so it looks more natural. I'm not doing that to any clips that I bring in because they are already finalized, so I'm just doing it with any clips that I'm using to tell the main story. At this point, you want to do another watch through just to make sure you like how everything looks and sounds, because now you're going to add your color grade. And color grading Now that's where all the rendering comes in. And for me, the grading is the final touches. So any like, extra contrast you want to add, any color manipulation, any LUTs, sharpening, noise reduction. Noise reduction is a beast. So it can bring even the most powerful computers to their knees. So you want to make sure that you add your noise reduction last, absolutely last. So yeah, let's jump in. So here we are back in here, and I've added my grade, and so I've used an adjustment layer. This is not native to Final Cut. You can download a little plugin for an adjustment layer. I can do a video on that later if you want, but this just makes sure that anything under these clips gets the effect. So if I make this shorter, see, and I just created all this rendering here, right? So these little dots here means that now the computer needs to recalculate what that clip is going to look like so it can show us, and it can slow down your editing. So that's why I try to keep all the moving clips till at the beginning, because once you move clips around and they have their grade and color on them, you create more rendering and it can slow you down. So with the grade, without the grade, with the grade, without the grade. So I have done some stuff with the greens. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There you go. I've done some stuff with the greens to make the greens less yellow and less and and just dim them down a little bit. Also add a little bit more contrast and punch to the image. Again, a lot more contrast. Before it was less contrasty and lots more green. Just kind of dim that a bit, and that's a more subjective thing. That's, you're not going to necessarily use a waveform for that, but it will help you just to monitor your colors to make sure they don't go crazy once you add your grade on. And that can be a LUT. I personally don't use LUTs very often. I like to build my look for each video. There you go. With the grade, without the grade. Again, very small difference, but it really adds just that small fine-tune finish to the end. And that's it. Here I did something funky without, so I had to bring her cell phone back into exposure range because it was just too bright when I added my color corrections on. So without this top part here, that looks like that. You can't really see the numbers. So what I did was added a filter and then let it play. And then once her cell phone went out of screen, I got rid of the clip. So there you go, and the clip's gone. So that way you don't see that dark filter over here. I could have keyframed it, but it's just so much faster. And there you go. You got your copy, import, organize, timeline, graphics, audio, color correction, and grading. These are kind of like, this is the order I do stuff to help me be efficient. So let me know if you learn anything new. If you see something and you're like, hey, I think there's a better way to do this, please comment below. I love to hear your suggestions because I'm always trying to find ways to edit faster. But anyways, guys, I'm going to link up that vlog that I used as the example, and you can watch some more videos. Until the next time, guys, stay courageous and see you in the next one.